You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No-nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise! Radio with heart in mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. Are You Ready is an NP Media Group production and is the official broadcast of the Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio. The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast are those of the host and not that of the station, advertisers, or its affiliates. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You never know when an emergency is going to happen. Disaster can strike at any time. Whether stuck on the road, riding out a power outage, escaping a natural disaster, or surviving a doomsday apocalypse, what would you do? No matter the scale, whether 1 hour or 1 year, will you survive? You're about to hear what it takes to be prepared. Now ask yourself, are you ready? Have you ever heard the term prepper? What comes to mind? Some of you may think it's a crazy guy with a bomb shelter and an old army truck parked on the front lawn. Well, prepper simply is a person who is ready for almost any emergency, small or large. It's no different than on a rainy day taking an umbrella with you when you leave your home or putting a coat on when it's cold outside. So maybe you think you're prepared for a brief time in that environment. But what if a few minutes turn into a day or even a year? I'm your host, Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper, and I'm going to use my over 25 years of prepping and survival experience and knowledge in this program to help you and your family prepare to handle almost anything from a small event from a doomsday apocalypse. So get ready, because I'm prepared to enlighten you to seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? And I want to hear anything you have to say about the subject, whatever you may have to offer. You see, it's important that we share our knowledge with each other, learn from each other, and help each other out. You see, the more prepared those around us are, the better your chances of survival will be when a disaster happens. Now, I'm sure everyone has heard the term zombies. Well, those are just those that are not prepared and come after whatever you have. Well, the call-in number is 513-815-6336 if you want to be a part of the show. Again, that's 513-815-6336. Also, check out our live chat room on Spreaker. That's Spreaker, Spreaker.com. Just go to the Are You Ready show, search it right there in the search bar. You can get there live through the website, nickpiercemedia.com. I post exclusive content on the home of Are You Ready on Facebook and on Instagram. Just go to Are You Ready Radio. You can interact with other members of the prepping community before, during, and after our broadcast. So share your knowledge. And again, if you want to call, the call-in number is 513-815-6336. So coming up this week is the anniversary of 9/11.
And it kind of brings me back to when I started prepping. I was in New York City at the time, right across the river, right in New Jersey. And the chaos that happened, absolutely insane. No one was ready for something like that. And that has to be when I finally realized that, you know what, even the minimal supplies I had to even help, some family members and stuff get in and out of that city, or even get back home from work, was a huge ordeal. And I was a Boy Scout. I was an Eagle Scout at the time. I already made Eagle Scout by then. But you always got to figure, when something like this happens, and we talk about bug-out bags, we talk about, bug-out vehicles and the bug-out locations and the hunker in place, your bug-in, getting your home ready and all that. In the past episodes, we talked about, where to start and all that. So if you missed any of the episodes, check them out in the archives. Right there through Freedomizer. Let's go to freedomizerradio.com. And also on the Facebook page, you'll see stuff there. Copies of show notes, posts, photos, videos, demonstrations, and all that I put up. So make sure you check that out. If you missed anything, go back. But remember, what do you do out somewhere and an issue, a situation, an emergency happens? Now, thank God we haven't had anything like that since. We've had some pretty bad natural disasters, and we've had other, attacks here. But, do you have what you need to get home? And first, you have to realize, okay, is it better for you to stay where you are with whatever minimal supplies you have? Or do you have to make that decision, get what gear you have, and get home? Okay? Should you stay in place, set out on foot? What gear will you need? And then how will you eat? What route will you take? So these are the questions I want to answer today. And I also have a lot of questions that you've written in all week that I'm going to answer too. I'm going to pull up the messages probably, during one of the commercial breaks and see what questions you have and answer them. So yes, I will get to those too. But of course, from a small event to a doomsday apocalypse, are you ready? An event happens when you're not at home. And most of you may not always be at home. You first must make the decision to get home. How will you do that with the minimal supplies that you have? And hope that you make it home alive. You're going to have a lot of mass confusion. You're going to have a lot of fear. You're going to have panic, and you have to deal with it. And even though you may be calm, even though some people that you know may be calm, because maybe you're there, maybe you're the ultimate prepper, maybe you got all the gear, the survival skills, and you and your group are going to get through this. That's great. Hopefully you are that person. One day maybe you will be that person. You will listen to this radio show many times and read all the content that I post, and you may one day be that person. But you always have those questions. And of course, gear, we talk about gear a lot on the show. Do you have what you need? But do you have the skills to use it? Do you have the skills to navigate? Have you practiced the route? Do you have alternate routes? Do you have a plan? Do you have the skills to execute that plan and the equipment to use, the gear that you will need to get you home? So look at the situation. What could possibly happen? Well, you can't prepare for everything. And I've always said that. I say that a lot on the show. You're going to drive yourself insane trying to prepare for everything that could possibly happen. And there's no way everyone can carry, everything that they may need. And you may not travel back and forth to work with a full bug-out bag. Not everybody's vehicle is equipped as the Doomsday Zombie Response Unit wagon, the trucks. Sometimes it's not practical. Some of you may commute back and forth to work on public transportation. You may ride a bus, a train, the path, ride share, stuff like that. Sometimes it's just not practical. In larger cities, you may walk to work. No, not only when the weather's nice, anytime. People in the city are not afraid of that. The weather? No. But we all have different items that we may think we need, and everyone has their own version of what a get-home bag is. Okay? Now, some people may even call it like the EDC, everyday carry. You've probably heard that term thrown around a lot in the prepper world. EDC. Sometimes it could be a small survival kit, depending on your daily environment. Some of you may only travel a short distance from your home, and some may travel great distances from your home. And depending on the distance, it will, definitely determine what your get-home bag will have. And everybody's get-home bag will vary. So, there's a few elements, basic things that you will need in a get-home bag. What do you need to get home is really the bottom line. And it also depends on your skills. If you leave your home regularly, you should build yourself a get-home bag, period. No reason why you shouldn't. So do you work or go to school, outside of your home? Do you go shopping? Are you going on vacation? Depending on what you're doing may depend on what goes in your bag. A get-home bag is to help you make it home safely following a disaster or an event. And a get-home bag will help you get home to your supplies and loved ones. Following a disaster, especially one that disturbs your ability to use modern transportation. Things like downed bridges, transportation lockdowns, destroyed roads, they could be permanently unpassable. You're forced to ditch your vehicle to hike home. And another element to your bag, your EDC or get-home bag, is what environment you're in. If you're walking around in the city, going back and forth to work in an office building, in business dress, you may not want a camouflage tactical backpack. It really doesn't fit with the professional office setting. I mean, they're going to think that this is the day you are coming in to demand a raise, and if they don't give it to you, you're probably going to blow the whole place up. You don't want to, in the city, especially in urban survival, urban prepping, there's a term called gray man. You don't want to be the target. You don't want to be the one that looks like they have all the gear. So maybe a tactical backpacking in the office environment is not the best way to go. Now, maybe you carry around a black laptop bag or a commuter backpack instead. Okay? It's critical to choose the right get-home bag for you. You need one that's durable. You need one that's rugged, portable, of course. Something with a good design. And, of course, price always comes into it. You don't want one that's too cumbersome to carry around in your everyday life. And if it's too small, you won't be able to take all the critical survival items that you need. And, of course, there's some things to consider, besides just the type of bag. Now, you first want to look at key things that you need in order to survive. You need water. You need shelter. You need some type of personal protection along with that first aid. You may need some type of fire. You're going to need food. And, of course, the most important, you need your get-home plan. So when you look at water, okay, first, a water bottle, you need some way to gather or have water. Now, in mine, I use a stainless steel water bottle. And I also have a water straw, one of those life straws. And I use a stainless steel water bottle because it's great for boiling water if you need to purify any kind of contaminated water. Okay, in a pinch. Now, of course, it's full of water. I mean, I don't leave home without a full bottle. But you may need several days' worth of water. Water is heavy. So you're going to need more than what you can really carry. Now, drinking from streams, rivers, ponds, lakes, or even puddles and downspouts can be a little risky. And natural water sources are normally contaminated with viruses, bacteria, parasites, and even chemicals that will make you sick and even kill you. And that's where my water straw comes in. Now, if none of you have seen one of these water straws, okay? It's a filter in this form of a straw. Pretty much, you stick it in the water source. There's a little thing, a straw that attaches to it, and you draw water up from that. And they're pretty good. They'll remove about 99.99999% of bacteria or harmful, anything. For the most part, not just bacteria. So a water straw, and along with the stainless steel container, my water bottle, I also have a portable, collapsible little water bladder. It holds about a little over a liter of water. And the water straw fits perfectly into that. So I never contaminate the stainless steel bottle. That's the clean water that I start with, and that's where the water goes to be purified, boiled, or something like that. Okay? But the water bladder, you can hold another liter of water, use your straw to drink it if you don't have a chance to purify or boil the water in your metal water bottle. It's almost like a canteen, but it's round. It doesn't look like a canteen. Again, I don't walk around full tactical, everything in a regular, everyday, journey around town, back and forth to work, or anything like that. Some people look at that. I do want to mention one thing while we're talking about water. Because water purification tablets, I have never been a big fan of them, period. You've probably heard me bash these things through many episodes. Anytime the conversation of water, how to sterilize water, how to make water safe to drink, anytime that question has come up. And of course, I'm going to say it again. Water purification tablets are just a waste, in my opinion. They sit around forever. You never use them. They expire and are useless after a certain amount of time. And I know that you'll read a lot of articles that say, put some in your get-home bag, put some in your bug-out bag, keep some in your pantry even. When it comes to anything with an expiration date on it, it's one of those things, store what you eat, eat what you store or use what you store. You can spend $5, $6, $10 on water purification tablets that will sit there forever and you may never need them, even if they expire 10 years down the road. Think about it. When was the last time you were in a situation? Now, of course, a situation could happen when you may need them, but when was the last time you were in a situation, look at how old you are now, and you sat down, oh, the water is not safe to drink, and immediately thought, I need a water purification tablet. Some of you may have been there, but there's other devices on the market now. Have you ever opened up a bottle of the water purification tablets? Maybe you're one of those that, hey, every year I go through my gear and I use it and I test it to make sure it's okay and I'm familiar with it, and you work with it, you're sharpening your skills, and you want to make sure that this works. How does it taste? What does it do? Get familiar using it before you need it type deal. Great idea. But you drop one of those things in the water, and you don't really know. Maybe the water's safe, maybe it isn't. I mean, you could go to a stream somewhere that you know is not safe to drink and test it out that way. Go home, make a doctor's appointment just in case that tablet doesn't work. You're ready to check yourself right into the emergency room. You see, the water tablets, they expire. They go bad. I can't trust them past an expiration date for the most part. Now, yes, things expire. Things have expiration dates on them. Things have sell-by dates on them. And I know, we've talked about that before. But when was the last time you went up to your cabinet and said, or your pantry, your bag, and said, well, I think we're going to have water purification tablets tonight in our water because they're going to expire soon and we need to buy a new batch. No one. Absolutely no one has ever said that I know of. I don't think anybody in their right mind has said that. And people may look at preppers like they're not in their right minds. Well, until disaster happens, they need what we have. Then they become zombies. Then they're the ones that are out of their minds. Because they'll do anything to get what you have. I don't know if anybody in their right mind has ever sat there and said, wow, we have all these water purification tablets. Hey, Glenn, why don't we have some purified water tablets in our water tonight? Oh, that sounds like a good idea. I haven't had one of those in a while. It doesn't happen. I don't think it's ever happened. A waste. A waste of money, a waste of resources, a waste of space, a waste of weight. Everything all the way around. You will probably never use those by the time they expire. But a water straw, those are good for a long time. Other filters. And of course, there's different manufacturers out there. There's Aquamarine, there's Life Straw, there's Berkey, there's all kinds of stuff. Colligan, I'm sure everybody makes some sort of water purifying device that has anything to do with water. Boil it. Maybe a couple drops of bleach. Let it set, you're fine. Most of you may always have bleach around. Unless you clean with some natural remedy of skunk tail oil and essential whatever vinegar or something like that. Okay, I get it. Yeah. That happens. Okay? But I'm sure that maybe even in your laundry room or something, you have bleach laying around. Now, I want to make sure you know this, though. You do not want to use the scented bleach. Make sure you never use that. Just get pure, non-scented, no thrills about it, bleach.
Oh, well, that music means that it's time to pay some bills. We got to take a quick time out. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You're listening to Are You Ready Radio. Stick around. I'll be right back. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise! Radio with heart and mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. And welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around during that brief interruption there, but we had to pay some bills. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio?
And talking about our get-home bags before the break and what we put in there. We were talking about water, and I had a very interesting question that someone posted about expiration dates. I was talking about those water purification tablets. But in general, I want to answer that question real quick. How to tell whether something is expired. And this is mostly with food. Is your food safe to eat, I should say? Okay, yes, there has been a lot of confusion over expiration dates. And, we throw out a lot of food in America. In general, the population throws out a lot of food because they look at expiration dates and they believe that, it's no good anymore. And these aren't really necessarily expiration dates. I mean, most of these will say like best if used by or best before a certain date or sell by, use by, stuff like that. Okay? Really what that's saying, and it's not that it's no good to eat, and this is canned food, dry food, a lot of stuff. Okay? It's not saying that it's no good to eat anymore. What's happening is manufacturers are putting certain dates on their product for a couple of reasons. One, it's just their recommendation on when they believe and how they feel, when they think the food is the best tasting. On your jar of salsa or your can of beans, that's going to taste the best up until this date. Give or take a couple months when it comes to canned goods. Okay? And sell-by dates and stuff like that. Really, manufacturers are just telling the retailer when they want to have pulled off the shelf or clear it out or something like that. It's just kind of like, the best quality. It could be anywhere from a couple days to a couple weeks to a couple months, a year to, depending on what the item is. I mean, for example, milk. Assuming you have it refrigerated, and it's refrigerator's running at a good temperature, it should last 5 to 7 days past that sell-by date before turning sour. Try it. Same thing with use-by dates. Again, it's just the quality of the product. You're always going to know when something is no good. Canned food, for example, tuna, soup, stuff like that, they can be stored anywhere from 2 to 5 years. Foods with a lot of high acid content, like tomatoes, juices, pickles, they can be stored anywhere for a year up to 18 months past date, according, to a couple sources here. The USDA is one of them. Now, you always want to watch out for certain dents in cans, any bulging, stuff like that. That's when you got to say, okay, maybe this isn't safe anymore. Look at a canned item. If it's bulging or there's a lot of dents or something in it, it just means that the seals are breaking down and stuff like that. So that's canned goods. And even with perishable items, grains, yeah. Okay, dried stuff like rice and oats, stuff like that. Those will last a long time. A lot of folks like to put those in, vacuum bags, like Mylar bags, put some oxygen absorbers in there, moisture, like those moisture absorbers and all that. Put a couple of those in there, vacuum seal the bag, put in a bucket, stockpile your rice and grains and stuff like that. And that'll actually store a lot longer than maybe just some of the manufacturer's packaging, believe it or not. And those could be used way past whatever date is on there. Now when it comes to meat and dairy and eggs, completely different. In a previous episode, I was talking about when you're storing food. If your power goes down, refrigeration's down or something like that. Use what's in the refrigerator compartment first, then use what's in the freezer, then go to your dried and canned stuff. Just in that order. Because you don't want to waste all that food in the refrigerator. And of course, make sure you know where everything is. A nice organized refrigerator. You want to keep that door open as little as possible. But yeah, a lot of people think that we're going to get mold and bacteria and all that in food that's past expiration date or just goes bad. It really doesn't go bad. I mean, way past, when you get into 10 years and out, mold, bacteria, stuff like that will grow in warmer storage and all that. Foods will spoil. But anything that's spoiled will look a lot different. You'll notice it in the texture, the color, the smell, of course, and it'll also taste bad. But actually, it'll start tasting bad before it becomes unsafe to eat. Foodborne illness comes from contamination, not a natural process of decay. So bacteria, it normally thrives in warmer temperatures. So you also want to keep, all your perishable food and even some of your canned stuff, even in colder temperatures. So that's just my thing about expiration dates. And now I have seen food that is way past expiration or close to expiration. And there's damage to the cans, bulging, stuff like that. You always want to check your food. So I hope that kind of shed a little light onto expiration dates. Freeze it. Freezing is a great way, to even lunch meats and stuff like that. You can freeze that. A lot of times people get like a lot of fresh meat at one time, break it down, put it in the refrigerator because like, I'm going to eat that steak tomorrow. I'm going to have this burger tonight and stuff like that. Just freeze it. Cheese can be frozen. Bread, you can freeze bread. Put a couple of layers around the bread and stuff. What I do is I actually take 2 slices at a time or 4 slices and I break down a whole loaf of bread. Wrap it in plastic wrap. Put it back in the bag. Freeze it. And then vacuum seal portions of it too. Bread will last a long time. And it doesn't get that like freezer burnt or like dry, like off taste. Because bread seems to absorb a lot of taste from all the different stuff around it in the freezer. So try that method and you won't have spoiled bread. Or you won't have that funky tasting bread if you freeze it. So much that you can use. Ways to extend shelf life of food. So I hope that helped. But back to our bug out bag thing. We're talking about expiration dates. Water tablets, though, forget it. Shelter is another thing that you need to have in your bug out bag. If you plan on not making it home for a few hours, that's one thing. It might take several days, depending on your skills that you have. You're going to want to pack some type of lightweight shelter. It could be as simple as a tarp and maybe some rope, okay? Even, you ever see those Mylar emergency blankets, tiny little things, silver, you'll probably see them, a lot of EMTs carry them, preppers love them. And even an emergency blanket like that can make a good shelter. There's also things on the market called bivvies. It's like a mini lightweight sleeping bag made of Mylar. And I think it's in my get-home bag, I have one of those mini type tents, 2-tent things. But I have Mylar blankets and paracord and almost everything. I have a couple in my truck. I got a couple, I got one, maybe 2 in my get-home bag. Got a couple in first aid kits and all that. Very handy. They're like $1 if that a piece. So definitely check those out. You can buy them all over the internet. But yeah, shelter, depending on your skills. Now, me, I don't really need I don't need to carry a lot of shelter with me. In all my years, and I've practiced this over and over and over again, building different types of shelters in different environments, I'm one of those. Now, when it comes to rescue, you want something to get help to you. But yet at the same time, there's also an element of evasion, making sure that you're safe and you're not a target, and maybe sometimes not being found. So I've excelled a lot, starting maybe about 10 years ago, in the shelter building. Now, it's always been kind of one of my things, one of my specialties, along with knots and weaponry and stuff like that, fire making. But one of my main things is building shelters. I could look at anything, build a shelter out of it. In any environment, boom, I have shelter. So, I got the Mylar blanket thing. Some people carry around a little tube tent. Some people carry around a little dome tent or something in their truck or their vehicle or something like that. Okay, yeah, that's great. Less resource, less time you have to devote to something. But if I need to be found, I can be found. I'm more of a, you don't know what's going on yet, so maybe you just want to lay low type person. But anyway, shelter, again, depending on your skill set. Another item, we talked about some of the first aid stuff. We talked about, personal protection stuff previously on the show. You're going to need a way to defend yourself. And one thing is kind of like what I was mentioning earlier with the whole gray man thing, not walking around with the big camouflage backpack on, the assault pack, 3-day, military backpack, camouflage with, all stuff. making it look like you don't have anything is pretty safe. You want to blend. So when it comes to personal protection, everyone has different beliefs. Camouflaging yourself in the environment that you're in is number one. You always want to avoid conflict. But there is always a risk with any emergency, because if you have one thing that someone else doesn't have, it could be your belt. It could be your wallet. It could be something that you have, maybe your glasses, maybe your jacket. Anything that you have above someone else makes you a target. So personal protection does come into place. Yeah, I mean, you could be a world-renowned fighting champion. That's a good thing. But everybody has their own beliefs when it comes to personal protection. There's also laws that may play a role in this when it comes to what you can and cannot have. You know, maybe this is just a simple get home. There's an emergency or something. It may not be the doomsday zombie apocalypse yet. Do you have some objects on you? Do you know how to use them to protect yourself? Now, some of us may, yeah. Some of us may have concealed carry. Some of us may have guns, rifles. I do. I'm also very proficient in sword, in stick, staff. Many of you have probably heard me talk about that a lot of times on the show. Knife, hand-to-hand combat, and all that. Some people may like tasers and pepper sprays and all that. That's great too. Are you prepared to defend yourself from what you have and your family and gear, should you need it? And along with personal protection, it's not just evasion, not just blending in. You may need to use force at some point to defend yourself. But along with personal protection, I also categorize first aid in that. Because, okay, in a get-home situation, maybe you may not need a whole field hospital with you. You may just need the basics. Lightweight, small, easy to carry, small things. Bandana, gauze, antiseptic cream, painkillers, aspirin, whatever it is, okay? Antihistamines. A small little medical kit that's in your get-home bag. This is not for surgery. In a pinch, do you have what you need? And some of these are almost everyday items too. Some of these, like, a simple pocket knife or a Band-Aid pocket knife's not part of the first aid thing. The Band-Aid is, but going back to the personal protection thing. A pocket knife. A machete. Someone just sent me a message like, oh, but what about your machete? I said, yeah, I love the machete. But, you want to, the machete's not an everyday thing, but a Band-Aid, some antiseptic cream or alcohol pads or something, even simple aspirins, those are everyday things. Super glue, great for, deeper wounds. Super glue it shut. And some of you may laugh. Tampons. I carry 2 tampons in my bag. My get-home bag. Never mind my bug-out bag. Never mind the medical field hospital setup that I have. Tampons. The OB tampons. It's just the little absorber part. Perfect for blood clotting, major wounds. Oh, those things are great. Go to a pharmacy, like for a couple bucks, you pick up like a whole pack, like 50 or something like that, depending on where you go. When it comes to personal protection, self-defense, stuff like that, definitely check with your local laws. Don't get in trouble for having stuff that you're not supposed to have. In some states, tasers are illegal. In some states, these knives are illegal. In some states, pepper spray is illegal. There are age limits on who can carry what and all that. Some may have a pistol in their get-home bag. Some may want a taser. Some may have pepper spray. Some people may have nunchucks and Chinese stars. Have something you're comfortable using. And it also has to be effective. You may not be a badass Chuck Norris and think that, when I need it, I got nunchucks. You don't know how to use those things, you're going to knock yourself out. When I was learning, I've done it. Bruised my shoulder a couple times. Boy, my elbow hurt. Check your local laws. Remember, it's something that will be in your bag everywhere you go. And there may be some restrictions in buildings. And even a simple traffic stop can get you in a lot of trouble if you forget that you have one of these items and they are discovered. Now, there is a cool thing. The flashlight tasers. Again, check your local laws. I'm not trying to be a bad influence on you. But a lot of times you'll get these flashlight tasers. And it just goes right in your bag. Kind of covert. No one really knows it's a taser. And boy, until you really need it, boy, that packs a shock. Nice little 2-in-1, cuts down on weight. LED flashlight with a taser on the end. So just different things to consider when talking about personal protection. The next thing, though, is fire. Fire will come in very handy during a survival situation. You'll need it for heat. You can use it to signal for help, boil water to drink. I mean, it's good for light and so much more. You know, depending on your skills, you're going to need a quick, easy way to start fire, whether you realize it or not. You may be like, oh, but I'm just like, I just do this, whatever, and, I'm shopping. When do I need to start a fire? Well, maybe you're not in the wilderness, but if you're in a dark alley, we're talking, get home, major disaster. You may not be able to get home right away. You may be out for a day, maybe longer, getting home. And some of this may not sound practical at the time, or just listening to it now. Like I said, we're going from everything from a small event to the zombie apocalypse in each episode. Do you have an easy way to start a fire? Even in the dark alley, you're going to want a way to start a fire. Have some matches, a lighter, some type of tinder. Now, great thing, I have a few cotton balls that I drenched in petroleum jelly, Vaseline. I also have a couple fuel tablets from a little portable pocket stove, and I keep those in my get-home bag. Great for fire starters. Food. Food is kind of a low priority for a get-home bag. You want to have a few calories just to keep your energy levels up and keep going. Okay? You can survive several weeks without food. I know. A lot of people are like, oh my God, I need to eat 3 times a day. Or no way. This person eats 12 times a day. They're bottomless pit. Yeah, but it's not a necessity. Yes, food. You need food after a certain amount of time. We're talking if it takes you a day or two to get home, you may not need that much. Some jerky, Slim Jims, some of those cereal bars. A buddy of mine, just the other day, he was talking. He goes, hey, check this out. I got these Fruity Loop. They're kind of like Rice Krispie treats, but they're made with Fruit Loops. And I'm like, breakfast cereal and sweet in a package. Won't spoil. Easy to eat. At the same time, I'm like, this is not just food. This is also a fire starter. This is also this for medical. This is also, like, the list goes on. When you look at one thing, and you're just like, you know what else you could do with it? And we sat there for a good hour talking about all the uses for this Fruity Pebbles version of a Rice Krispie treat. Yeah, it was also good food for his get-home bag. I went out and bought some, put it in my bug-out bag. Like, just that sugar, it's cereal, so you get that nutrition from it. But then you also have that marshmallow, its sweetness, stuff like that. It's good for morale. While you're at it, throw a tea bag in there too. Nothing like some warm hot tea, In the middle of a fit hits the shan situation, just to keep it clean for the radio, we got to switch that around. In the middle of a fit hits the shan situation, having a nice cup of tea. Yeah, if you're not a tea drinker, it's barter material. I'll give you 1 tea bag for 2 of your cigarettes or something like that, or, Yeah. And those are pretty much the basic categories of what you want to look out, or what you want to include in your get-home bag. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff. And like I said, depending on the situation, sometimes it's about evasion, sometimes it's about rescue. And whatever the situation, or whatever your skill level is going to determine what's in your bag.
Oh, well, that music means that it's time to pay some bills. We got to take a quick time out. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You're listening to Are You Ready Radio. Stick around. I'll be right back. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No-nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Hey, how you doing? This is Magic Pierce inviting you and yours to listen to some good friends of mine that have a show too. Did you really think my daddy is the only one that just runs his mouth all the time and that's the only thing I listen to? No, it's not. I got a show I listen to on Sundays. Join host Max and his co-host, my hottie Fritzy, and of course my good friend Abby on Counterculture-Wise, Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. They have their own human guests, Melanie and Jim, each week. They don't meow a lot, but you get what they're saying. Now let me tell you, you have to go to counterculturewise.com. Use your paws to play with the mouse and scroll down to the on-the-air button on the right to hear their show. Just click on that. After that, watch them on Periscope like I do. Daddy gives me a little mouse to play with, and I get farts the whole time. It's a great show. Check it out. Counterculturewise.com. If you don't tune in, I get cuckoos on you.
Thank you so much for that ringing endorsement, Magic. It warms the orange hearts of me and Abby and the gray heart of Fritzy to hear you say such amazing things about our show. I'm pretty sure that Mumsy and Father have pink hearts, so we will assume their hearts are warmed too.
Forget about it. I got you guys. Good peoples.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. And welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around during that brief interruption there, but we had to pay some bills. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio. So, welcome back. And, before we pick up where we left off, I did want to mention, valuable things when it comes to preparedness as skills. And the Ohio Department of Natural Resources is offering a beginning archery program. And this takes place on the third Wednesday of each month from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The class is held at the Spring Valley Shooting Range. It's 3570 Houston Road in Waynesville, Ohio. All the equipment is provided. You're welcome to bring your own personal safety equipment. The class is open from ages 8 to 18, regardless of your experience, so from beginner to advanced. And if you want to check it out or you have any questions, I'm going to give you a number to call. And it's 937-269-3547. Again, that's 937-269-3547. And it's you can also, there's an email, it's a long email address. They have a website, though, ndr@ohio.gov, and I'm sure you'll find information about it there. Great program. Archery is a great skill to learn, especially when you have no bullets and you can make your own bow and arrow. Talking about our our get-home bags this week. And I'm also going to answer your questions here that were sent to me online as well. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, after this, in just about 25 minutes, Barefoot is Legal is coming up next. No, I'm not conceited. I just want to promote my other radio show. So make sure you check that out. Well, maybe I am. But let's see, bug out bags. We're talking about just some of the essentials that go in there. And do you have in your bag some other options to keep in mind? Bandanas, knife, and what about communication? I had a really great question come in from someone earlier this week with all the events going on with the Hurricane Florence, y'all. And there was a lot of issues with the cell phone towers. And all this, people, you hear a lot about ham radio in the prepping community. People don't have ham radio licenses. People didn't have CB radios. And they're looking for different options to communicate. And I'm going to get into that. So part of your get-home bag should include communication. Because you need some way to get in touch with the loved ones back home and if a disaster happens. You always want to know, is your family safe? Are they being forced to evacuate? If so, where are they taking them? Should they try to wait for you to follow, with evacuation orders? Or, who has the kids? Who's got the goldfish?
I mean, these are all important questions, and there's no way to coordinate anything during an emergency unless you have communication. So I'm going to get to that here. But other essentials to have in your get-home bag, maybe poncho, gloves, binoculars. People overlook binoculars a lot. Just a small pair. Being able to spot potential threats well before they spot you allows you to avoid them and other hazards. So think about a pair of binoculars in your bag. And along with navigation and part of your plan that we were talking about earlier on in the show, maps, compasses. I know you're like, but we're getting into gear. We're getting into stuff I don't know about. Well, yeah, no, that's why you're listening to this program, so that you learn. So you know what you need. So think about topographical maps. Those are the maps that it's not like streets on them. It shows like the elevation of land and stuff like that. Road maps also help. We depend on GPS so much now. But what if you can't get a GPS signal? But what if GPS is not working? What's the safest route? Do you know where you are, where you're going? Maybe just even natural water sources. Are you able to pull out a map and read it to get home? In an emergency, are there cliffs? I mean, you want to know if you're going to a cliff. If you don't have repelling gear and you're not MacGyver or a helicopter waiting for you, you're not going to make it. So it's very important to know what the terrain is up ahead. And does it fit with your route? Do you have the skills to cross that terrain? Do you have the gear? And, topographical maps will help in a lot of worst-case situations. Even if you need to navigate through unfamiliar areas, compass will also help too. Well, that compass in a dense forest, I mean, you're just going to walk around in circles. I mean, that's the human tendency. Humans have a tendency when they're lost to just go around in circles. Now, here's a cool thing, though. If you're not able to get GPS or something like that, there's a website. I'm going to drop it in the chat room. And just, again, go to freedomizerradio.com in the live chat room. I just dropped a link in there now. It's offline topographical maps. Maps. Load those onto your phone, mobile, tablet, whatever you have. And this way you don't have to carry around a bunch of paper. If you have a backup charger, you'll be fine. And, of course, along with communication, it's key to get information from the outside world. So if you have to abandon your car, do have a small radio that you can listen and get information. So I'm going to post this whole list of everything we spoke about. If you go to Facebook.com, go to Are You Ready Radio, and I'll post a bunch of stuff there. You'll see all the exclusive content that we offer throughout the show. But I want to answer your questions, and I want to first start with we were talking earlier about the communication. Is there an alternate for walkie-talkie, CB radio, ham, and all that? And during the break, I thought about it, and I have an app on my phone. It's called Zillow, Zillo, and it's kind of like a walkie-talkie, CB radio. And there's different groups in there, and especially throughout the hurricane disasters that are going on now in the Carolinas, Georgia, and all that with Hurricane Florence, there are a couple sites. One of them is a couple channels is what they're called. And the channels are pretty much different groups of, different help resources, rescue channels and stuff like that. The people are radioing in, calling for help, and they're able to get, I guess it's like a crowdsourced rescue is one group. And I guess that's in essence what it is. A bunch of volunteers are down there. They have equipment, they have gear, they have vehicles, they have boats, and they're able to get to homes to rescue people. So check out some of those. Now, of course, these are emergency channels only. You can listen, but don't call in unless you have an emergency, or don't radio in to check, hey, is this working? That's not what it's for. This is for legitimate emergencies that people are trying to get rescue, help, and all that. So it kind of brings you back. Now, during the commercial break, I have free spots where the sponsors don't pay. We plug some radio shows, and one of the commercials that I run is a spoof from another program on the FEMA weight loss camps. Now, there's other FEMA spoofs and things that we've been doing on this show. And it's amazing how, it takes so long for the government emergency management, Red Cross, any one of those organizations to move in. So a lot of times these are preppers. These are folks that are here to help. They're volunteering. And if you're in one of these areas, if you want, better than CB radio, because CB radio is so short wave. I mean, it's good for maybe a mile, 2 miles, if that. Ham radio all over the place. Not everybody has ham equipment. A lot of times, Wi-Fi's down. This is down. Cell phones are down. Now, this does take a small bit of bandwidth on the cell tower. But whereas a lot of people are not able to make phone calls, this app is working. Amazingly, it is. Wi-Fi, no Wi-Fi, just minimal cell. Because the amount of bandwidth or something that it needs is not up in that 4G, 3G range. So your phone, you should be able to communicate through this app. And it's just like walkie-talkie or CB radio, but only has a much larger range. And I definitely recommend that one. So that's an alternate to walkie-talkie. So the original question came in is that I need to have some sort of emergency contact with family, and we don't have CB radios and all that, and they don't want to send their kids around with walkie-talkies and this, that, and the other. I mean, because it is short range. So the kids are in school, the husband's at work, the wife's at another job. Maybe the cat is out food shopping and the dog is out in a yodeling contest. Almost all of them would probably have cell phones if that's what they're doing at the time. So definitely download this app on everybody's phone. Create your own family group. You can create your own groups. You can put a password in there and all that. This way, no one else can listen in. You can also create public channels for people to listen in. I have a public channel. I'm not going to mention over the radio. It's a public channel. If an emergency in my area happens, then there's a way to kind of communicate and all that with local residents and all that in the Dayton area where I am. So, definitely check out some of those. Now, some of the main groups that are running emergency rescue efforts in the hurricane area on the southeast coast, like I said, it's Crowdsource Rescue is one group. And the other one I just read about is Cajun Navy. This started many years ago out of Louisiana. And that's another rescue group. Again, volunteers to coordinate to get people out of disaster areas that are not able to evacuate on their own. And folks, that's why you need to prepare. That's why you need to be ready ahead of time. Because part of survival and part of prepping is self-reliance. So right now, a lot of people are just at the mercy of what very few volunteers they have in a certain area. Well, in any case, we hope everybody is okay. Another great question that came up, and let's see. How do I keep warm in my house when the temperatures temperatures in my area drop between 20 and 30 degrees in the winter? We're afraid last winter we were out power for 2 days. It wasn't that bad, but we're afraid if something happens for a much longer period of time. Okay. This is going to take a little bit of time to answer. So this could happen anywhere. I don't know what area of the country you're located in, but this is a great question. When it comes to a house, apartment, trailer, whatever you may live in, RV, camper, the smaller the place, the easier it is to contain heat. The larger the place, the harder it is. So if you live in a larger home, or you live in a multi-bedroom apartment, or you live in a house, or whatever, first thing to realize is that you want to kind of close off a certain section of the house or your living space and make it as small as possible and insulate that. Now, a couple steps you want to take to make sure that things are okay, such as your water pipes and all that, is keep them all on a little trickle so that they don't freeze on you. And I do a couple things that I have going in my house. All my windows have up above the heavy, thick blinds that I have. There's another layer there for two different reasons. One of them for like chemical and biological anything. So over all my vents, units, windows, doors, and all that, there's a flap and it has sheeting that comes down and sticks right to every opening. That's the first barrier. On my windows and stuff, I also have heavy drapes, tapestry drapes. I mean, this place looks completely black. It's dark when I pull those things down in the middle of the day when the sun should be beating in those windows. And that's like that in every room, plus also doorways and stuff like that. Vents and the heavy tapestry is not, the heavy drapery is not on the vents in the bathrooms. But and the blow dryer vent, but it is on, all the windows and the door areas. Can drop down very easily in an emergency. You're done. You want to have some sort of barrier to insulate and keep that weather from coming into any opening. And then just body heat alone will start heating up the inside of your home. On top of that, if you take heavy blankets, cushions, mattresses, whatever it is, create a small barrier in your home to close off a particular room. Now, I would recommend maybe one bedroom where there's a master bath or an area of the house where the bathroom is nearby. And this way, you're kind of not like isolated all the way, on the other side. You have to go through the frozen tundra to get there. So figure out what's convenient for you. And closing that off, even if you take plastic sheeting and start, on your ceiling, dropping it down, make a smaller area for you to live in. So you're not trying to keep a whole house warm. And then maybe just some mattress on the floor, chairs. Pick a room that's comfortable for everybody, I guess. And that's the easiest way to do it. Make the environment as small as possible and close off from the rest of the house or apartment, building, whatever it is you're living in. And that'll be a lot easier to heat up just with body heat alone. Anything from blankets, sheets, anything that you can find. Another thing I've done once, we did a practice drill in my house. And me and a buddy of mine, we run drills quite a bit. And we decided that, okay, for 4 days we're without power, and we did it in the middle of the winter. So what we did was we pitched a tent in my living room, just a dome tent, and we covered that tent with blankets. It was like a sauna after a half hour. So there's all different options you can do. The temperature inside the house actually dropped to about, I'm going to say 30-something degrees, somewhere around there. Believe me, in that tent, it was pretty warm, just with some blankets on it. So depending on the size of your family, the type of house and setup you have, type of home you live in, those are all some solutions to that. Don't do anything stupid, though. You're not going to sit there and light a fire in the middle of the living room. I wouldn't recommend that. Butane burners, sterno, and all that, not a thing, not something good. And do not bring the grill in from outside and light it. Thinking that that's going to keep you warm. Now, if you have a fireplace in your home, that may be one option. Wood-burning stoves, great. Not everybody has a wood-burning stove. And a lot of times fireplaces now, hopefully they're wood-burning. If not, they're just not practical. Unless you got a propane tank attached to them. Because you never know what's going to happen in the outside world. Having backup heat, having backup, generator, that's always a good thing. You can power certain things off a generator if you really need it. But the easiest thing, in a pinch, make the space as small as possible. And that would be a lot easier to heat up. Antibiotics. Great question. Someone wants to stock up on antibiotics. And are fish antibiotics versus prescription antibiotics safe? Yes, they are. Here's the thing. The antibiotics that you need to go to your doctor for are the same thing that's in the pet store, the fish antibiotics. It's still amoxicillin and all the others, penicillin and everything else. Now, you can order them online, and I've always advised against this. You do not want to order any medicines for you or your pet online because you found a great deal on them. Now, as long as they came from within the U.S., that's one thing. But if they're coming from Mexico, China, and all that, don't even bother. First of all, the standards when making these things are way, different than the U.S. And you really don't know exactly what you're getting. So buying an antibiotic that your life may depend on, you may want to spend the extra money and not buy it from Ping's Pharmacy somewhere in, the middle of China somewhere. Another thing with antibiotics, though, is a lot of times people think that these things will cure everything, and we have antibiotics and everything's great. No. You need to know when to use antibiotics, what antibiotics are used for certain things, what they treat. Because I'm no medical professional, but I do know that there's broad antibiotics and narrow antibiotics, and certain things kill certain types of bacteria. Broad antibiotics kill a whole wide range of bacteria. But antibiotics are not going to help anything caused by a virus. So, they're going to take care of ear and sinus infections, dental infections, skin infections, meningitis, sore throats, bladder, kidney infections, bacterial, things like that, whooping cough, you name it. But the common cold, the flu, most coughs and all that, bronchitis infections, those are done through viruses, even stomach flu. So antibiotics are not going to work for everything. So make sure you know what you're doing when it comes to antibiotics. That's definitely one thing you want to keep in mind. Know what you're doing, and same thing when it comes to your prepper pharmacy. And we're going to get into some of that on future episodes because I know a lot of people have been asking about building their pharmacies up, and this is a great segue into it. However, we are running out of time. How do you prepare for a disaster? Well, listening to this program, you're going to get a lot of advice on how to prepare for a disaster. However, like I said earlier, you are going to drive yourself absolutely insane and go to the poorhouse trying to prepare yourself for every disaster you may think could happen. Inventory your home, find out what you have there first, figure out what you need, start from there. And then figure out, what I'm going to do if this happens. I'm going to do that. Start with the natural disasters that could happen in your area. Don't get so overburdened with your, fears and, everything that could happen. Zombies might come in. The source system may collapse. The meteor's going to land on my house. My horses are going to come down with some weird disease and kill everybody. You're going to drive yourself insane trying to think of every scenario that could happen and try to prepare for it. Start with the common events that may happen in your area and then take it from there. It's always the best starting point because you can never prepare for everything.
Well, thank you for joining me this week. I'll be back next week. Before we part, I want to share a few quick thoughts with you to reflect on and empower you in your prepping and survival lifestyle. First of which is planning. Planning is a very important part of survival, but kit, knowledge, and will to live is the most fundamental principle. Other factors are your mental conditioning. Confusion and fear will be the first reaction. Fear automatically stimulates the production of energy. How that energy is used depends on the conscious process of sorting out the confusion and transforming the flood of sensory input into coherent status reports that can be presented to the brain's higher reasoning sensors. See, with experience and discipline, the energy generated by fear can be channeled into purposeful action. Without it, energy will explode into panic and then dissipate into useless or even counterproductive activity. Speaking of the brain, though, monotony. The battle to survive requires your brain to continually interpret incoming signals for danger or opportunity. Your brain remains sensitive even when you sleep, although at reduced vigilance. It's designed for constant activity. If the level of outside stimulation falls too low, it will pick up and intensify signals from within or even make them up. If the brain does not get enough excitement, it will create its own. The key to treating boredom is to keep stimulation dynamic and personal. There are three additive forces at work in the struggle for survival, though. First is knowledge, but there's also conditioning, and of course, you need luck. When it comes to food, humans can go a long time without food, and if they are without water, they should. Even digesting carbohydrates consumes water, and all food contains at least some salt, which dries out your body even more. So think about that one. But you need to adapt and survive. See, human beings are a work in progress, still incompletely adapted to the various environments into which they have ventured, but they often have been able to survive there through a combination of animal instincts and intelligence, both of their own and their cultures. And that is what trumps their physical shortcomings. It's also accomplished with willpower. See, willpower does seem easy to summon in harsh situations where the terms of the struggle are brutally clear, but there's no room for dependence on others. That's the important part about willpower. If you have to leave your location, You always want to head in the opposite direction of disaster. Have multiple bug out spots. Plan your routes. Do extensive recon in all of the spots you pick so that you are familiar with the environment, nature, food, water, weather, and the terrain.
Well, I hope that I helped you seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in and the support you give the show. Our guests, the callers, our friends in chat, listeners, clients, customers, everybody at the store, everything. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also find us on the web at nickpiercemedia.com. Click on the program's link. Find us on your favorite podcast platforms and on our home on Spreaker. To contribute to the show, go to Nick Pierce Media and click on the Support the Show link. Are You Ready Radio is the official podcast of Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio, and is an NP Media Group production.